doing today? Something's been gnawing at me for the last 10 years, and it's a memory. And it's a memory I just can't seem to shake. It haunts me to this day. And this past week, with all the stories in the news, it's all come back to me in a flood. See, I lived in Boulder, Colorado in 1996. I'd grown up there, and in '96 I was managing a little liquor store in town. It was a cold December that year. We had a white Christmas. 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was murdered in Boulder that December, on the day after Christmas. The young beauty queen was found in the basement of her home, dead. She had duct tape over her mouth, a skull fracture. She'd been molested and then strangled. Her parents were well-to-do. He was a successful corporate executive, and she was a former beauty queen herself. A trophy wife. Lived in a big, beautiful house in the nicest neighborhood. No, I don't reckon I ever met Mr. or Mrs. Ramsey. I don't figure they came into my store. You see, my store was kind of at the edge of town. Boulder police say to this day that the murder of young JonBenet was the only murder to take place in Boulder during 1996. I'm here to tell you different. I have got to shake this memory. Well, you see, Lorraine Florence Lawrence also died in Boulder that cold December. Her half-naked body was found in a construction hole between her housing authority apartment and the grocery store where she worked as a bagger. The hole she was found in, you see, was covered with a sheet of plywood and 2 heavy buckets. It was about 6 feet deep, 7 feet deep. The buckets had been placed upon the plywood to hold it down. She was found face down at the bottom of that hole, half clothed, her face bashed in so badly that her neighbors couldn't identify her. Her teeth were broken, her eyes blackened. Apparently there was a trail of blood. There was a trail of blood that led from her apartment to the scene of her demise. Police found a broken beer bottle and a pool of blood near the hole. After 2 weeks, the coroner released a report stating that Lorraine Florence Lawrence had died of exposure. They said she froze to death. 2 weeks later, with Boulder's spotless murder record still intact, the coroner ruled that Lorraine Florence Lawrence, the 37-year-old epileptic, alcoholic, grocery bagging loner, had suffered a fatal accident. See, no one made a big stink about this at the time. I mean, hell, we had a beauty queen murdered. The press, for the most part, went along with it. And why wouldn't they? This young beauty queen had photos, she had videos, she was leading a fairy tale life that had been snatched from her. It was tailor-made for the media. Pulled on the heartstrings of viewers worldwide, still does to this day, 10 years later. Made-to-order story. Of course, Lorraine Florence Lawrence had none of these things. No videos. Probably had some pictures, but of course not nearly as many as a beauty queen. I mean, hell, her mama didn't even have the same last name. Now, what kind of story does that make for? I mean, who would even care, right? Lorraine Florence Lawrence was a loner. I'm not asking you to believe me, folks. The facts are all available to anyone who looks for them. I'm just asking you not to believe them.